Welcome to the Shrewdness. We are so excited about this baseball-focused endeavor. As teased in prior episodes, we are doing 15 to 20-minute primers for each MLB team to prepare you for this 2025 season, to help you with your fantasy baseball drafts and future bets, or simply to improve your knowledge as the season begins. From the projected starters to the prospects, we will touch it all and give our shrewd takes on the key to their success. So sit back, take some notes, and enjoy the show.
Hey, Shrewdness fans. As you heard from the intro, we're continuing on with our Major League Baseball series. Tonight's show is going to be on Seattle Mariners. Lou is going to lead us through. Tell us what's up with Seattle, Lou.
All right. Well, this is our second AL West team that we've been doing them. You may or may not see them listened to out of order than how we're recording them, but we did the Athletics. They should be released soon if you haven't. So doing another AL West team. We are going to grab the Seattle, which is, from what I understand, projected second, I believe, in the AL West. But they look pretty good. So last year they were projected to be 86 and 76 by Fangraphs, 85 and 77 by Baseball Prospectus / Bakota. And they had a rough year. They actually only won 78 games. They were an under. But were competing until the last, 4 or 5 weeks, and then they just kind of fell off a cliff. This year, they're projected at 84 and 85.7 wins projection. Their over-under currently is 84.5. So they're kind of they're trending over, as I would tend to say, is a slight over just based upon their projections at this point. And why are they projected to be over 500? Likely a playoff team. Well, I don't want to bury the lead, but I think we should probably go to the most important unit that they got, which is their starting pitching.
It's ridiculous.
And I haven't seen anything like this in our reviews so far, and neither has anybody else. And though, there's an East Coast bias. It definitely exists. And sometimes these folks pitch out in the middle of nowhere at 3 a.m. for a lot of us, and so we don't catch up on what actually happened. They have 5 folks that started last year. 4 that started like normal every time through the rotation. And then they had Brian Wu, who was their 5th starter, who put up numbers that would be comparable to most people's first starter. Mm-hmm. So Luis Castillo is their veteran number 1. He started with Cincinnati and ultimately ended up on the Mariners in 2022. Last year was one of his worst years. He posted a 1.8 WAR with a 3.64 ERA, pitched 175 innings with 175 strikeouts with a 1.169 ERA. He was their ace and their worst pitcher as a starter. All right.
Oh my gosh.
He was
1.17 is the worst. That's
the absolute worst.
That's a lot. Yeah.
On trend, he had 47 walks in 175 innings. That was also one of the worst rates. So 47 walks in 175 innings.
Not even 4 to 1.
That's one of the worst walk rates of the starting staff.
Ugh,
all right.
Awesome.
You move on to their number 2, which was George Kirby. He was probably the second worst. He was their number 2. He had a 1.9 WAR. He had a 3.53 ERA, which is good. He pitched 191 innings, but only 179 strikeouts. But his WHIP was approaching 1.068. He was also a Rookie of the Year candidate in 2022. He was an All-Star in 23 and also a down-ballot Cy Young Award potential guy. He had 23 walks in 191 innings. Right?
Yeah. That is
23.
unbelievable.
It's unbelievably elite.
23.
Okay, moving
That's
on.
stupid.
Now we get to the really good pitchers when we get to the back end of the rotation, right? You have Logan Gilbert, right? He's 27 right now. He's going into his peak year. He had a 2.8 with a WAR with a 3.23 ERA. He had 208 innings. Nobody pitches 200 innings, and he had 208 with 220 strikeouts and a 0.887 WHIP. He was 6th in the Cy Young balloting.
0.887 WHIP over 208 innings.
That's lower than Paul
Skeens.
Lower than Paul Skeens.
37 walks. He was actually their all-star rep last year. And you would think it would start to tail off. It does not. The next pitcher was actually better. All right, Bryce Miller. Never heard of this guy, but he had an amazing year. He had a 3.4 WAR, a 2.94 ERA, 180 innings with 171 strikeouts, and his WHIP was 0.976. Only 45 walks in those 180 innings. This guy was drafted in 2021 in the 4th round. He's on a rookie contract and he's being paid pennies. And right now, he is pitching at an absolute. Any team in all of baseball would take this as their number one for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
Very few teams would say that he would not be those kind of numbers if he's anywhere close to that this year. And then there's scrub, Brian Woo.
Yeah, Ric Flair loves this guy.
A bunch of O's.
Ric Flair's favorite pitcher.
Ric Flair's guy.
He's 25. He's 25 years old. He was the 5th starter. He threw up a 2.1 WAR as a 5th starter. In only 121 innings, he had a 2.89 ERA and a WHIP of 0.898. 13 walks in 121
This
innings.
is your 5 guy.
This is the number 5 guy.
5.
Again, you could put him at the top of most rotations and people would have been ecstatic. 6th round pick in 2021.
What do you think the rest of the league's number 5 starters whips average?
Oh my God, you're lucky if you get a literal replacement potato body at 5.
Right.
You're happy with it, right? You get a 0.1 or 0.2, you're like, cool, I'm fine with that.
What was Alec Marsh's whip last year? Who was the Royals fifth starter for most?
Man, it was high. It wasn't
I guess
0.898.
1.4, 1.5, something like that.
Alec Marsh had a 0.9 WAR last year. He went 9-9 with a 4.53 ERA.
Yeah.
Alec Marsh was a good 5th starter for a playoff team.
Yeah.
Right? He had a 1.256 WHIP.
Okay.
2.5. Okay, that's better than I thought it might be.
Expected. I thought it would be higher as well.
But again, this guy in almost the same innings just blew him out of the water. Like, it's unbelievable how much better their 5th starter is than our bet. But not just that, just everybody's 5th starter. No one's getting this kind of production.
Well, and to reinforce what you're saying, Will, if you look at their team rankings in 24, their starting pitchers in the major leagues ranked number 1 in ERA, number 1 in WHIP, number 1 in walks per 9, and number 1 in hits per 9. In the majors, they led in those 4 categories.
It's not even
pitched, they got to be top in innings pitched too.
Oh, they probably are. I don't have that in front of me, but yeah, I'm sure they are.
I mean, they go deep in the games. That's how you get to 200 innings. Like 191, 208, 175, 180. Woo!
And you make every start. Nobody got hurt. Everybody's throwing 7 innings a start. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I hate fanboying over this stuff, but now that we're doing these deep dives, you just don't see numbers like. You'd be happy if you had 2 pitchers that look kind of like some of these guys, and you'd be like, all right, that's a good stat.
Yeah.
But to be able to pull out your top 5, and by the way, again, Luis Castillo is 32, which for a starting pitcher, you often can go another 3 to 4 years. So he's the savvy veteran. But the next ages, 27, 27, 26, 25. These are like peak performance times.
Coming into their prime,
They're in the window.
Most of them are getting paid pennies. They're on their rookie contracts.
Yeah, and they got Castillo from a trade with Cincinnati a couple years ago.
Yeah, they dumped some prospects to get him for a playoff push 2 years ago, and he did.
Yeah,
I mean, he did his job. He's good, and he was the number 1 for Cincy too. I mean, he's been a top starter in the league for a minute. I mean, he's 32, but he's been doing it for a while. And they gave up a couple prospects.
To your point, though, Lou, you've got 4 of these guys that are homegrown.
Homegrown, drafted in the 4th and 6th round a couple of years ago. Just, you talk about diamonds in the rough. This is crazy.
Yeah,
These people were not supposed to be this. So
it's like
this is
Red Beach territory.
Yeah, this is the Tampa Bay Rays, but like even something that Tampa Bay hasn't been able to do. Like these guys are great. So, and of course, where you look left, unfortunately, sometimes you have to look right. Their pen is not great, but their pen didn't have to be great. They do have a pretty good closer, and Dexter tracks this stuff reasonably better than I do, so you can comment more on the Andres Munoz thing.
He's legit.
Just on putting together the statistics, he had a 2.12 ERA, a 2 WAR for a closer, which is pretty good, 77 strikeouts in 59 innings, and a .961 WHIP. Now, he had 22 saves. He had 7 losses. How do you reconcile that as a closer though? Like that's kind of
super
rough.
weird for that low of an ERA to have 7 losses.
And that low of a whip. Like he really has pretty good numbers.
Yeah, I mean, just sometimes it's weird luck, right? I mean, we talk all the time, wins and losses are kind of random. And a weird play here, one error, you're still getting a loss.
Well, except as a closer. Because by definition, if you're a closer, those 7 losses are like unfortunately, they're on you because of the nature of being a closer. As a starting pitcher, the wins and losses get wonky, and I don't really care about them as much. But a closer having 7 losses, that's most likely 7 blown saves or 7.
Some of that,
the extra inning stuff when you start a runner on. Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's true. The ghost runner stuff, well played. That could be an issue.
If you've got other guys, if your starters are going 8 innings, and you're tied or maybe 1 run ahead or something, and your setup guy gives up a run.
I don't think the ghost runner counts against ERA.
I don't think it does.
I don't think it does either. But that's how you get the L's.
Which would explain the L's. The other thing I thought immediately was like how many errors are happening behind him, because he could get L's with no earned runs that way too.
Runs.
That being said, from when we get to that, they seem to have a pretty ridiculously good defense, and it's one reason why I think the pitchers are doing so well. So I don't think it's as much that.
It does seem like a little counterintuitive that a guy that did get 20 plus saves isn't as great in high leverage situations. Nobody can get that unlucky 7 times, right? Some of that's got to be on him.
So what they're leaning on is this Matt Brash, 26-year-old relief pitcher, right-hander.
He's good.
He was out all last year with the Tommy John, but the year prior in 23, he had a 1.3 WAR. He had 4 saves, but he pitched 78 innings in relief. So the guy was just like, he basically was the next guy always there. Supposedly he's going to be back. I don't have like a great update for that, but they're expecting to be leaning on him. He didn't pitch at all. His Tommy John was in May. So
okay.
It's going to be plus minus. It might be that there's a little bit of a delay in him getting in there. But the next guy on the list is an old friend of ours, Colin Snyder.
They have a few old friends of ours.
Yes, we actually have two of our old friends.
3. Yeah. 3.
3?
Did you see the third? He may not have showed up yet, but they have Colin Snyder, right? They have Gabe Spire.
Oh, they have Gabe Spire? I didn't see that.
And they have Jackson Cower.
They have Kowar. Right? So Colin Snyder he pitched very poorly. He was literal warm body, 0 WAR, 4.87 ERA in 20 innings on a 100-loss team, and they were like, we've seen enough, Colin Snyder. You're done in 2023. And then the Diamondbacks picked him up, signed him a minor league contract, couldn't get in. And so then the Seattle signed him before last season. He came in and was like 41 innings of lights out, awesome right-handed closer nonsense. For whatever reason, the dude had almost a full 0.9 WAR with a 1.94 ERA, and he had 47 strikeouts to 41 innings pitched.
Jeez.
That is not the Colin Snyder I remember.
No.
Does he live in Tampa Bay by chance?
Right. I just practice with him.
He got hit with some dust when he's down there.
Unbelievable, right?
He drank some Tampa Bay water or something.
He was fine, and he had a couple of moments with the Royals where we kind of thought he was a thing, but then he would just melt. And when he started melting, he was the worst melter. It's like, get him out, but it's too late, and he'd just like completely lose it. I think the biggest thing is that he was still kind of in the old Royals era of, it's okay if you walk some people. We'll just try to get them next time. So he'd put like 3 people on, and then he'd just be hosed.
That doesn't usually help out.
No. Then they have this Gregory Santos, 25-year-old. He was pretty much awful last year and very limited work. I think they're hoping that he shows more. He's had multiple trades to get to this point, and they're kind of hoping he makes a step forward. Then we get to Jackson Kowar. We could spend an hour going over the Jackson Kowar drama. He was part of a 5-stud Royal draft.
He's a round one draft pick.
Was supposed to be the thing that turned around the Royals right around the time they won the World Series in 2015. That was supposed to be their big, like, the 5 aces were coming. And Jackson Kowar, in his entire career, has a minus 2.6 WAR. His career, minus 2.6 WAR. And in no single season that he has pitched in the majors has he ever broken that beautiful 0.0 number.
Oh my
he
God.
is always worse than a replacement pitcher. Always.
Oh,
It's
consistent.
Yeah, we talked in a previous episode that a 0-0 WAR is like meets expectations.
Right.
That's probably enough said for Mr.
And when you have
Kowar.
a first-round draft pick, meets expectations, should be the minimum
Is
that you get
expected.
out of a
Yeah.
first-round draft pick.
So he was
think.
injured last year. He didn't pitch. I don't think anybody has really made a concerted effort to turn him into a reliever. And this is what Seattle is doing, right? So the expectation is he had a year to get healthy, and then we'll see. They're going to try to throw him in the pen and see what he can do. He's this huge Southern boy from Charlotte, pitched at LSU or Florida with Brady Singer, and they had a lot of success. I don't know, man. Sure, good luck to him. I will not have a single moment of regret to never have to see him pitch for the Royals again.
No.
Let's move on. We're talking about the 5th reliever.
Yeah, but he's a former Royal, so he gets a little extra. He gets a little extra talk.
You get love if you're a Royal, okay? That's just
That's
what
right.
it
A
is.
good one, though.
No,
Either way.
He's
caused a lot of
frustratingly
grief and
bad.
consternation.
Why give him love now when we didn't give him any love?
No. You also get an exponential amount of crap if you were a bad Royal, so he deserves it.
So moving on to the offense, and this is where I'm a little torn in so much that, like, I really thought they were going to be a lot worse on offense. And they were overall not great last year. However, there's so much.
Let me set you up, Lewis. Let me set you up, though. Yeah, I gave you those numbers on rankings for their starting pitchers. Well, they're hitting. You know what it ranked in the Major League in average?
30.
29.
Oh,
Wow.
I knew they're bad. Who beat
29.
them? Who was worse? Chicago?
White
I'm not
Sox.
sure.
Chicago.
It's probably the White Sox.
Gotta
Yeah.
be Chicago.
Well, the one person I wasn't aware of was Cal Raleigh, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That dude-
Beast.
4.7 WAR. You know, we were talking about in another episode how
He's
the
legit.
Milwaukee catcher was like a 4.9, right? He was like one of the best catchers in all of baseball. Well, this guy is a 4.7 WAR and hit 34 home runs. He was 12th in MVP balloting. He won the Gold Glove in 2023, and then he was a down ballot MVP. No, actually, in 2023 he was a Gold Glover and down ballot MVP guy. So
He's also had 3 years in a row over 27 homers. That's
hits homers.
Freaking awesome.
He has just enough OBP to kind of get into like he's okay. He just doesn't hit for average at all. But he's also a Gold Glove super catcher, and so
and in Washington,
he's a switch hitter.
They love him. He's their guy, and he had a huge moment. He hit a walk-off homer, playoffs to get him in. He's the guy everybody loves to root for out in Seattle. He's a great guy, great teammate, great person, community service dude, and just a beast. He's kind of the one anchor in that lineup. I mean, it's hard to say you're a crusty veteran at 28, but he's been doing it for a minute.
You say he's the face? Is he the face?
Well, he's one of, and I'm not even
I'd
kidding.
say Julio, from what I
Julio's
can tell,
probably,
going
he's
stuff,
probably the guy.
And then the
Julio
pitchers.
Rodriguez is probably where you go next because that dude is 24. And last year he slashed 273, 325, 734, which is like fine, good, like not like maybe all-star or whatever. But that was like the absolute low mark for this guy. Before that, he was basically like he was 4th in the MVP balloting one year.
Yeah.
He's like been the Silver Slugger every year he's played. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2022. He's like, he's in the All-Star game every year. He had, in all this, like he did not have a great year. He still had 20 home runs and a decent stat line of 4.3.
He's only 24.
He's 24, right?
Crazy.
He is amazing.
Let me throw this out, though. So last year, for everybody that was in Washington at the point, like myself, and anybody who drafted him on their dynasty teams, like me, he was god-awful all season. So here was his stat line. I know you just read off and said, oh, it's not that bad. Here's where he was sitting on August 28th, man. August 28th, dude had 11 homers total and 40 RBIs. The only reason he even has a passable line is because on the last month of the year, he batted 349, 386 OBP, just under 600 slugging, 9 homers and 28 RBIs in his last 29 games. So he single-handedly just said, that's one freaking month, man. So he's on pace for 50 and 130, except he took the first 4 months off.
Too. The irony was everyone that was the month they faded.
Yeah.
Where they were in contention until that month.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But he was
I had no idea he was that
whole
backloaded.
Season. Yeah. It was 1 month. He played one good month, and everything else was terrible.
That's pretty impressive, though, that you could do that in 1 month.
I know. So I'm hoping he just does it the whole year because for my dynasty team, I really need him to stop sucking since he's my first round pick.
Right.
And you don't really get to go back to the well when you keep 14 players, man.
But you've got Luke Raley, who the stat line of he had a 3.2 WAR with a 243 average, 320 OBP, 320 is passable for sure, and 22 home runs. Like, that plays. That's fine. It's not amazing. I mean, actually, it is pretty good. It's beyond kind of what most people would expect. But everybody is actually last year played to a reasonably good WAR.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. Like, everybody was better than replacement level. I still don't understand how this team didn't do better than it did.
Because
if you look at their lineup, it's like 201. So, all right, you go Victor Robles, who you haven't talked about yet, but it's quite a player, actually.
The dude blasted last year, other than he couldn't hit homers. But, like, he got on base. He did everything
34
else.
stolen bases. I mean, you got 381 OBP. But then you go 273, then the drop-off. 220,
They're all
219,
Mendoza clones.
243, 208, 202, 213, 201. Oh, my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
The bottom
so Luke, keep
five
going
are
through the
just
lineup.
dog balls.
I'll add some stuff to him later. So keep going through.
Well, the worst is Mitch Garver. How is he even on the roster? They got him from the Twins, and he was miserable. He hit 172. I mean, he had enough walks to pull a 286 OBP out of that 172, and I guess the 15 home runs.
That's really sad. That
kind of got him there.
286 OBP is.
He's also 34.
Yeah, he's 34. Like, I don't know what his real upside is at this point.
The writing's on the wall, Mitch.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Well, that's what they signed. Rowdy Tellez just 2 days ago.
How did Pittsburgh let him go?
How do you let Rowdy Tellez go?
In the Pittsburgh episode, if one were to go listen to the Pittsburgh episode, we made some jokes about how could you let Rowdy Tellez go? Well, because you're probably going to use him to replace Mitch freaking Garber. Mitch Garbagever, who was horrific. So, or at least provide competition there. Because that's just a DH, whatever, generic spot. It's not like that's a hard-to-replace spot in the lineup. No,
that's right.
For whatever.
It's not hard to replace when he hits 172 either.
Well, I don't know. You got guys that are slugging it or hitting at 202 and 208 up there. I mean, it's going to be tough to break into that lineup.
They're not tagged as the designated hitter either.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean,
if you go through and look at the accolades on this team for what they have done with, like, silver sluggers, with, like, rookie of the year balloting, with the all-star MVP down ballot, like, all of these people had down years, but they have had way better up years. Like, they all were, like, in that bottom quartile of what they can do, which is, it's just hard to have everybody perform that poorly. I mean, I got it if you've never seen it, but these guys have all done it.
Yeah.
Well, like, you haven't talked about him yet, but Randy Arozarena, like, you know, he had a bad year. He had 219, but he went 20-20 home runs, stolen bases. Like, if his
OBP was 332.
Yeah,
like the guy was on base.
We've talked in past episodes too about WAR contributions defensively to WAR numbers, and I'm looking up and down your notes there. And you got Gold Gloves in 3 or 4 different spots up and down the line too. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those WAR numbers could be a little inflated.
Inflated with that, for sure.
Due to defense instead of because it's clearly not offensive numbers.
Well, they
you're
hit
right,
homers.
though.
My whole
A lot of
point
homers.
is that they underperformed offensively for sure, but
Yeah.
there's a substantial track record that a lot of these guys have done a lot better. And
Yeah.
I just think that just saying for sure that they're all going to just now be on that trajectory where they all suck just seems a little bit weird when you just had kind of a down year.
Yeah, and they're
I've
not
never-
that old.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they're relatively young. There's nobody who's completely off the
Yeah, you're
other
right.
than Mitch Garbagever.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that one was kind of bizarre.
I think some of the easy bounce back candidates would be Jorge Polanco. I mean, he was former Twin, but he was their number 3 hitter for 3 straight seasons. I mean, he's a 300 hitter and gets on base and has some pop. JP Crawford, I mean, he's not a 202 hitter. He's a 250 to 270 hitter. He gets on base, plays some really good defense. They usually put him towards the top of the lineup, or they put him at the bottom as kind of like the reset the top of the lineup guy.
Yeah.
He had a horrible year. He's not that bad. He's actually really good. Randy Arozarena. I mean, that dude was going for a batting title a couple seasons ago.
Yeah.
And
He won
Yeah.
Rookie of the Year in 2021.
219 hitter. So all these dudes just didn't. And Julio Rodriguez, again, he was batting 220 at the end of August. And he finished at 273. I mean, he just trucked 1 month. But imagine
He's
him
24, and that's his worst year. His worst year would fly anywhere as a good year.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Victor Robles, I mean, he's all defense. I mean, he was on
Robles?
this Robles, whatever it is, but he's the same guy as like Michael A. Taylor, right?
No, he's not. I think you're selling him short.
With
I mean,
more upside, but I
way
see his
more
line.
he's
upside.
got a 381 OBP. That's
3-1
that's
OBP
phenomenal.
is elite.
That was his best year by far, is what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
He was
14
34
OPS. I mean,
He was 6th in Rookie of the Year balloting in 2019. The guy has
he's not
some
bad. Like
pedigree.
he should
He's got
be
some
better
pedigree.
than that. And he's got 34 stolen bases and 300 plate appearances last year.
And don't forget, he's 27. It's his prime year. So, last year, he's supposed to have his prime year this year.
Yeah,
Whoa,
it's
I just
weird,
saw
'cause
this too. He's got an 814 OPS and 4 homers.
Yeah, no, he's
Wow.
just
What the heck?
that's
Is he a
doubles and
triples
triples.
machine?
Yeah, doubles
Yeah.
and
He's
triples.
gotta
kind of
be.
guy.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
weird
yeah.
is you're right, Lou. You look at the lineup and you go,
0 last year.
they should be way better.
Yeah.
They should be way better than what they put out. I mean, that's they're to be 29th in majors in that batting average with that lineup is I would have never bet that if I saw
No.
that lineup.
Who's their hitting coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
I want answers.
Who was their hitting coach?
That's why if the summation of the whole thing is right now at an 84.5, this looks like an 88 win team to me with a upside of a 95 win team.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely on the over, and it's as close to a lock as I've done in doing these. Like I feel very confident,
especially when you look at their division, right?
Yeah.
It's a mid division.
It's Rangers, Athletics, Angels, Astros. Okay, Rangers and Astros are going to be competitive, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but they've lost a lot of pieces.
They have. So
I
the Astros
feel like there's just
really
a bunch of 80 win teams in the West, and then I think the A's are like a 76, 77 win team, like close to 500 team. But there's wins to be had, and there's nobody who's just going to be absolutely a world breaker in the West.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I really strongly feel good about this after doing this deep dive. I think this is a good team, and they just seriously underperformed last year. There's just too much pedigree.
Do they have anything in the pipeline, Lou, from a prospect standpoint? Anybody that's like got a chance to be seen this year?
No,
are we
they
talking
have
further
talent.
out?
They have talent. All right, don't laugh. Oh, you're gonna laugh, but don't laugh. The guy's name's Harry Ford. So Harry Ford is a catcher drafted in 2021 out of high school with the 12th pick overall, but he's still in Double A. Cole Young, their next best talent, is in 2022 as their first round pick out of high school, shortstop.
Okay.
He's still in Double A. Like they're just not even close. They don't have anybody who's that's high talent, but also
Knock
ready.
it on the door, right?
Yeah.
That makes
That's
sense.
pretty much it.
They don't need anybody
No,
now.
And so
They just
if
need
you're,
everybody
if you're
to be normal.
Yeah, if you're looking from a fantasy standpoint, any guys that I mean, besides the entire starting pitching,
Besides the fact that you want as much of their entire starting staff as you can get.
I just take the Seattle Mariners as my starting fantasy pitching staff. That's all I want.
Brian Wu, I think, is the one that I'm most intrigued by because he's a fifth starter, but he's pitched so well that I could totally see them really trying to make sure he gets more starts. And I think they're going to want him to be showcased more. So you might be able to have other people in your league are looking at him well, he's a fifth starter. I'm not going to prioritize him.
Yeah, you might be able to get him late, right?
You might be able to grab him a little bit later than others. And he's just so elite. That guy just does not walk anybody, and he pitches ridiculously well. He may have been. If you project, his WAR would have been higher than theirs had he gotten to the same innings pitched.
13 walks in 120 innings. That is so stupid.
I mean, they had multiple guys in the Cy Young preseason talks last year, and it was Kirby and Gilbert were like, hey, these guys, if they pitch well enough, they could win the Cy Young. And so 2 out of their 5, and Luis Castillo is not dog meat. He's actually really good.
No, again, he would have been a 1 on most staffs. Yeah. And he was the 1 on this staff, except for he didn't perform as well as everybody else behind him in the rotation. It's crazy.
Right. In past fantasy drafts, I would look at Logan Gilbert and the 208 innings pitched last year, and I would shy away from that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. But then you look at his whip, and you're like, did he even throw as many pitches as some dude that threw 170 innings?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that dude was dominant.
Putting the ball in play.
Well, and your point,
6
Lou,
in
the late, I really like when you look at if you look at the underlying numbers, Bryce Miller as a 4 starter is crazy. That, I like him in a fantasy. 294. I mean, 294 ERA out of your 4 starter.
Yeah, your 26-year-old 4 starter.
I mean,
that's stupid.
The Patreon folks have probably heard Dexter talking about it, but I think Luis Castillo really should be a trade candidate for as a splashy guy to try to go out there and get a bat. We were talking about maybe as something as a package for Rafael Devers or something because they all have high salaries.
That would be a great move for them.
You just don't really need Luis Castillo on this team. You want him, but you don't need him on this team.
Right.
Yeah.
And
what you need is a bat at third base, which would be pretty sweet right now. If you got Devers instead of Polanco, have Polanco be your utility dude. Holy cow. That looks pretty solid right there.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah, put anybody in the lineup and take Garver out. It doesn't matter where they play, but you take out Garver and put in Devers. That's a instantly 3 or 4 win.
Man, the more I think about that, trade makes so much sense.
Yeah,
because
and Red Sox
Boston
need a pitcher.
Needs a number 1.
Yeah,
they just need it
big time,
and that would fill a super hole. And the salaries, I think, are pretty close. They're not
I was wondering about that.
The same
Let me
amount
see
per
here
year.
if I can find what Luis Castillo's.
His was 20 per, if I remember right, for the next couple of years, and I think that's somewhere around.
His contract is 21.6 average yearly value.
Devers was 25.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a win-win all around. It probably makes too much sense to happen. So
true.
And
they're not in the same division. They're not going to see each other that much.
You haven't got a call yet from the Red Sox asking your opinion though yet.
No.
That's tomorrow. We haven't released this episode yet.
Neither have I. Just to be clear.
Wait till they hear this, and it'll be done.
Oh my God, they make a lot of sense over there. That's a shrewd take right there.
We need to get this out. We need to get this published.
Quickly.
We gotta help
All right.
these teams
Any other
out.
final thoughts, Lou? This does look like a solid team. Appreciate your insight.
For sure.
And diving into these guys.
So my final thoughts, there's a lot of buy low candidates on this offense.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Julio's going to slide, and he shouldn't. I think he last month showed you what he can actually be and what he should be and kind of what everybody expects him to be. Randy Arozarena, same thing. He's got upside. J.P. Crawford, you could do worse at shortstop if he turns it around. And Cal Raleigh, he's good behind the plate. So there are some bats to get in Seattle. I know they were terrible last year, but they have track records of not being terrible. So I think you can get some buy low candidates. I'm not saying get them in the first round. I mean, don't be stupid. But you can get them for a value. That's how you win these leagues, man. So don't be afraid of them.
Sure.
Yep, 100%.
All right. That's it, though.
All right. Well, thanks
Stay
for joining
shrewd.
us.
Stay
We
true.
will be back next time with another team.
Like, follow, subscribe.
Join the Patreon.
All right. This is the Shrewdness signing off. Peace out.